You've heard about the 5 stages of grief, right? Well, today I'm starting a series exploring these stages from the perspective of someone who is currently grieving. First up is denial. And it ain't just a river in Egypt, so stay tuned. Hey there, if we haven't met, my name is Brooke from Grieving Mommy, and on my channel I share my journey through loss and grief after losing my 10-year-old daughter Libby in a car accident. I also help other people that are going through the grieving process. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross created the 5 stages of grief after studying terminally ill patients in the 1960s. They caught on and kind of became the gold standard of grieving. However, she never meant for them to be looked at stages to be followed in a linear pattern like a roadmap. They're more of a guideline of what people experience during their grief. Instead, they should be looked at as kind of a loose guide of common thoughts and feelings that people have while they're grieving. It is a long and windy path that a lot of times circles back on itself instead of being in a straight line. No two people grieve the same way. Some might zoom through the stages, and others might come back to the same stage over and over again. Personally, I feel like my stages never lasted very long in one particular stage. It kind of depends on the day. I definitely have days where I'm really angry, or I find myself bargaining again, or months and months after my daughter died in her car accident, I'd catch myself thinking, this can't be happening. If you're someone who's grieving, comment me too if you can relate to those feelings hitting you out of nowhere. Okay, so today we are going to dive into the first stage of grief, which is denial. The denial stage typically happens right after the death. However, like I mentioned before, people can still have thoughts of denial long after they've left the official denial stage. I know I can find myself still saying, how is this happening? Or how is this my life? Those questions seem to be the hallmark of the denial stage. After the death occurs, it's really difficult for our minds to process what has happened. We question it thinking, is this real? Is this really happening? This can't be real. We might know in our hearts that it is real, but we're not ready to deal with the reality of what that loss actually means. In the denial stage, people typically tend to either go into shock or to become very numb. I know for myself, this is what happened. Immediately after my daughter died, there were so many things that I needed to take care of that I just plunged myself into work. All the things that needed to be done, that was where my focus was on. So making phone calls and making the memorial arrangements, sending emails, creating slideshows of photos. I just went into business mode, making sure all of that stuff got done. When I think back to those first days, I'm not even sure how I survived, honestly. They are a blur. I didn't think about eating. I couldn't sleep. I just worked. Focusing on other things besides the death or not feeling much of anything at all besides empty is our brain's way of protecting itself. It instinctively knows that if it lets us feel all of those feelings at one time, that they will completely overwhelm us and we won't be able to deal with it. So it allows us only the little bit that we can handle and shuts down the rest. For me, it was like I knew that my daughter was no longer there, but I still felt like, even though I was planning her memorial service, which seems crazy to be planning someone's funeral, but still having a sense that she could come bounding in the door at any second, or I could pretend to myself that she was just off at a friend's house or at camp somewhere and she'd be coming home soon. This is denial. It's knowing they're gone forever, but refusing to admit it to yourself because your brain and your heart just cannot handle it in that moment. It is shock and numbness and feeling like it's not real, distracting ourselves to avoid the pain. But man, when that shock starts to wear off, look out. That is a whole different ballgame. So tune into this next video up here when things start to get ugly, or Angry is more like it, as we explore the anger stage of grief, which is coming up next. And if you can't deny, see what I did there? That's so bad. That you found this content helpful, it would be awesome if you could click the like button below. I'll see you in the next video.